Now we get to our opening night film. 100% won the award for Best Documentary at the Jerusalem Film Festival. It takes us into the world, the somewhat secret world, I'll say, of the Druze community. This film gives us a peek into a closed society, an Arab religion and ethnicity within the Middle East. This film is about people and education, and not necessarily about politics or the Arab-Jewish divide. But for some context, I think it's important to note that although the Druze community serves in the army and is incorporated into Israeli society in many ways, and even I'd say thrives in Israel, as Arabs in a Jewish state, there's discrimination, both socially and officially, especially since the passing of the nation-state law claiming Israel as a Jewish state. This, I think, adds another level to the viewing of this film and to the conversation. We're honored to host here tonight the director of the film, Ronen Zaretzky. Ronen, thank you so much for being with us. And the subject, Jalal Saad. He's the principal, of course, if you've seen the film, principal of Beit High School, where he went to elementary school in Beit, and is a school which has 100% graduation rate, the #1 school in Israel, which is just an amazing accomplishment and a really moving element in this very touching film. I also want to give a thank you to Abdallah, who is actually translating for Jalal. Anybody who wants to hear this conversation in Arabic, you could click on the interpretation link on your screen, and then you'll hear it in Arabic. We'll switch that off also at times, so you'll be able to hear it now. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce someone who's been an amazing partner through all of this. Libby Lenkinski from the New Israel Fund, VP of Public Engagement. Libby, I hand it over to you. Folks, to ask questions, we want you to participate. Put your questions in the chat box and we'll call on you and open your mic to ask it live during the Q&A time. Also, after the Q&A, we do not have a reception for you this year, unfortunately, what we like to always call Carol Zabar's bar mitzvah. Instead, we're going to have a short 10-minute session of breakout rooms. I know it's not as good as the food that we usually serve, but you could bring wine and it'll give you an opportunity to say hello to your neighbors, to see who else is on the line, to talk about the film, to share your thoughts of the film. So we're going to do that for those who want to stay on at the end. We're going to try to do this at every screening throughout this week. Please continue the conversation, and Libby, over to you.
Thank you so much. And it really is so wonderful to be here virtually this year. I'm definitely among the people that Joy was describing. I'm normally camped out at the JCC in Manhattan for this entire week, trying to catch as many films and amazing conversations with filmmakers and experts as I can. This week, I'll be camped out in front of this screen to do the same thing. And as Carol said, it is a phenomenal lineup. And so I encourage everybody to catch as much of it as you possibly can. It's great to see so many of you here tonight to talk about the film 100% with Ronen Zaretzky and Jalal Saad, as Yitzi said. Before I turn to them, I just want to say what an honor it is to be here moderating opening night again and partnering with Other Israel Film Festival again, the baby of our dear friend Carol Zabar, NIF board member, and who you heard from just now. We really love working with Other Israel at NIF. As Carol said, it's really hard to change hearts and minds. And typically at NIF, our tack is on the activism side, on the analysis side, and there's nothing like film and art to really get at people's hearts and minds. And so it's really a natural and beautiful partnership that we really love doing every single year with Yitzi and Yara and Morgan and Sam and Joy and Carol and the whole team at the JCC. So thanks for having me and thanks for partnering with us. As Yitzi mentioned, this conversation is going to be in translation. Thanks again to Abdallah. This means that we'll be pausing a little bit and we'll move through that because it's in all of our values and ethos of our organizations and ourselves as individuals to be proximate to the stories that we're talking about. And sometimes that means through language, sometimes that means geographically. Tonight it's going to be through translation. So with that, I want to turn to Ronen and Jalal and start our conversation about 100%. And so you will hear a little bit of translation starting now. I think I'd like to turn to Ronen first and just really start with the basic question of what made you decide to want to tell the story? How did you get involved with Beit, with the Druze community there?
ما الذي جعلك تريد أن تعمل هذه القصة؟ يعني شو اللي خلاك لفت لك نظرك أنك تعمل هذه القصة؟ ما هو الإلهام الذي أدى إلى ذلك؟
Yeah, and maybe you can also tell us a little bit about how you met Jalal and how your relationship started.
ويمكنك أن تخبرنا أيضا كيف التقيت بجلال وكيف بدأت علاقتكم مع بعض.
Okay, thank you, Libby. First of all, thank you all the people from Other Israel for choosing 100%. And thank you everyone who watched it and now part of this Zoom. Can you hear me well? Okay. And also thank you for the ideas and the words that you just say in your opening. Just need to say that in Israel, it's become quite rare hearing people speaking about peace, about Palestinian, the way you speak. And I myself miss it and also love it. So thank you for those two things. Regarding 100%, me and my partner, Yael, she's also my partner in my life. We both leave Tel Aviv a couple of years ago and now living in a small place in the Galil Heights. And Beit is just across the road. And actually, all our neighbors around us are a village, Druze village. We start learning and reading articles in newspaper about the great and amazing success of this village. And since we are a filmmaker and looking all the time for ideas, we decided to go and visit there. And actually, first time we came in, we start meeting people. We start meeting teachers. Jalal at the time was not in the position of running the school. He was kind of coordinate all the different education program. But we saw he's different. We saw, you can see it. He have a long hair from behind. And we look at him and we know he's different from all the other. And we ask his help. We ask his permission. We ask the student permission, the parents permission. And actually we've been in this high school for almost 3 years and start to learn how things going out there. What is the meaning to be Druze in Israel? And what is the meaning of this success? And this is how it started.
Thank you, Ronen. Jalal, I'm going to turn to you. Welcome, first of all. And I want to also just start kind of with a simple question of what was it like to have your life filmed? And what was your reaction when you first saw the film?
أهلا بك جلال. بدنا نسألك يعني شو كان شعورك الأول عندما رأيت الفيلم؟ شو كانت ردة فعلك الأولى؟ وكيف يعني شو كانت الفكرة اللي خلتك تعمل هذا الفيلم؟ ما كان هو الإلهام الذي خلاك تعمل هذا الفيلم؟
أولا شكرا على المؤتمر اللي انتم شاركيني فيه. احنا هنا في المدرسة في بيجان شفنا انه في عنا احنا اول شيء اسرائيليين بس عرب كمان، يعني في عنا مشكلة. العرب الاخرين بيقولوا عننا انه احنا خون، والاسرائيليين بيقولوا عننا عرب، واحنا في عنا مشكلة في الزهود تبعتنا، يعني في شو احنا بدنا نعتبر حالنا، في الهوية تبعنا في عنا مشكلة. احنا عرب. المشكلة تبعنا انه احنا مش ماخذين اي حقوق كيف لازم ناخذهم. الحق الوحيد اللي احنا نقدر ناخذه عن طريق التعليم. في عنا طلاب كثير اللي كانوا يتركوا المدارس. انا واحد من الطلاب اللي تركوا المدارس بعد صف ثامن. رحت على الجيش. بعد الجيش ورحت اشتغلت بالمجوهرات مع واحد من أصحاب المجوهرات اليهود في الشغل على المجوهرة نفسها. المشكلة إنه بعدين شفت إنه فيش إشي، يعني بدي أكون عامل كل حياتي. كان عندي في إمكانية أروح أتعلم، أخلص المدرسة الثانوية، تعلمت. بعدين اشتغلت كمدير مشاريع في مصنع حديد. أنا كمان تعلمت، عندي الهواية تبعت التصوير. أقمت محل تصوير في بلدي، ومن خلال ذلك كمان أقمت محطة كوابل تلفزيون. وشفت إنه التعليم هو المستقبل تبع المجتمع تبعنا. خلال الفترة هاي أقاموا في المدرسة عندنا في بيجان فرع إلكترونيكا وحاسوب، وأنا كنت متعلم كمان هندسة إلكترونيكا وحاسوب. ورئيس المجلس المحلي كان بالصدفة صاحبي وفيش عندنا معلم، اجى أخذني على المدرسة. شفت إنه هذا الإشي اللي أنا موجود من شأنه، يعني لإعطاء مجتمعي، أعطي رسالة. التعليم هو رسالة في نظري أنا. حبيت الأولاد هذول، قريب لهم أنا كنت، لأنه أنا طلعت من نفس المشكلة، يعني من نفس المحل اللي هن موجودين فيه أنا كنت فيه. وشفت إنه هذول الطلاب اللي أنا بقدر أساعدهم.
Allow me Mr. جلال، سيد
نعم.
جلال، اسمح لنا بس نترجم، صار في كثير معلومات.
تفضل.
اوكي شكرا لك. So yeah, just thank you for having me in this festival. I'm honored to be here. First of all, I'm an Arab Israeli. We Arab Israelis are considered traitors by the other Arabs. They look at us like traitors. And the Israelis look at us like Arabs. So we are somewhere in between. We are lost in this aspect. So I was more in the professional world. I left the school early. I went to the work market. I did a project management for a while. My hobby is to do photography. And then somebody came to me and offered me an opportunity which actually changed my life. And that's why from that point on, I wanted to make a change in the community and to spread the message in the community that I come from through education, because education was the only way for us to get our rights that we haven't otherwise attained by any other method.
Thank you. I want to ask both of you a question that really follows up on what you just said, Jalal, and it's about education. Abdallah, do you want to translate that before I ask the question?
Absolutely. أريد أن أسألكم اثنيناتكم بعض الأسئلة. السؤال نفسه تقريبا حيكون هذا السؤال حول التعليم.
So it feels like in the school and in the film, there's a sense that focusing on excellence in education is a way to provide a better future for the children growing up in Beit and in general for Druze and Arab citizens. Do you believe that that's true? If you have 100% high school graduation rate and kids do really well in school, do you think that they have a chance at having a bright future in Israel today?
هل تعتقد بأنه أنت بالنسبة للفيلم والمدرسة، يعني إذا ركزنا على التعليم، كون هناك صار عندك التخرج من الثانوية بنسبة 100%، نسبة النجاح والتخرج، هل تعتقد أنه التعليم هو ضمانة على تأمين مستقبل جيد للأطفال بعد تخرجهم من الثانوية؟
أولا بدي أقول شغلة واحدة. إحنا كمجتمع وكأقلية موجودين في إسرائيل، ما حداش طلع علينا، يعني إحنا مش محسوبين، وإحنا طلعوا علينا في أمرار في عنصرية تامة. طبعا مش كل المواطنين، بس القوانين اللي موجودة في دولة إسرائيل اللي تسن حكومة إسرائيل هي قوانين عنصرية ضد كل الأقليات موجودة في دولة إسرائيل. منها قانون القومية، منها قانون كيمينيتس، السلاح الوحيد اللي ضل إلنا إحنا أول شيء الأرض تبعتنا اتصادرت، كنا مزارعين صادرونا الأراضي، ما عادش في عندنا أراضي زراعية. السلاح الوحيد إلنا من شان إحنا نقدر نعيش هون هو سلاح التعليم. واليوم في عندنا إحنا الطاقات والقدرات اللي ممكن إذا إحنا وجهناها صح ومسكناها وضبطناها اللي هي تقدر تأخذ المجتمع تبعنا إلى الأعلى، وأسوة بالمجتمع اليهودي في دولة إسرائيل.
So I say first of all that as a minority in Israel, we are discriminated against by law, by judiciary. We are being discriminated against. And the only weapon for us, the only mean to elevate our lives and to take it to a better place is through education, through honing the potentials and through growing the talents that we have. That's our only way out of the hard situation that we are going through.
Thank you. Ronen, do you...
وكمجتمع اللي هو أقلية، اللي الشباب هذول اللي احنا بنعلمهم اليوم بالمدارس في بيت جان ممكن يروحوا للجريمة، وهذول بيكونوا مشكلة للمجتمع ومشكلة للدولة. يعني احنا موجودين هون مع الشباب هذول بنعطيهم الأمل إنه يقدروا يعيشوا بكرامة، مشان هيك بنخفف قصة الجريمة، بنخفف كمان العبء على الدولة وعلى المجتمع بشكل عام.
And as a minority here, we are helping the youth who will otherwise go into a criminal path, into harming the society. We are actually putting them on the right path through giving them education, giving them hope to elevate their lives and get their lives better, on a better track.
Thanks. Ronen, from your involvement here and your deep relationship, is that your perspective as well? I mean, from what you've learned making this film, is excellence in education a key?
Ronen, وهل أيضا من خلال انضمامك في هذا يعني الفيلم هل عندك نفس النظرة كما لديه السيد جلال؟
Yes, but I see it a bit different. I see some other things. First of all, and people who saw the film need to understand it, a couple of years ago, most of the students lived before 12 years in high school. The young girl marry earlier. The young boys go to help their father and mother in their work, and the success of these schools changed. Everybody in the village want to be part of this 100%. This is the great power of this of what happens there. Other thing which I learned from Jalal and from the people I met in Beit Jan. First of all, many of the older people in Beit Jan are working for the IDF or police, and they give up other option, learning and keep on learning after the army for men. Young student girls don't go to the army. They keep on learning after finishing 12 years and have the graduate diploma. So, and there is also a great change for the young women in Beit Jan and all the Druze, because they get married much later, when they are much older, understand what they want from their life. And other thing, if they have problem in their family, they can deal with the problem they have by themselves. They have something. They don't depend only on the husband or on the family. And it's put the women in the Kfar, in the Druze community, much more powerful. And this is a great, huge change that, I don't know, for me, this is the most important change in this community. And this is what this school doing quietly, because it's need to be understand the powerful. There are many powerful people, good people, but their religion, they want to keep the thing as it is. They don't want any changes. And what this school doing quietly and very successfully is making a big change. And most, actually all the people just proud of it. If you used to say a couple of years ago, what is Druze to you? The ordinary Jewish or Muslim Israeli will say, yes, they go to the army, they stay there all their life, or they're working as a policeman or women. But now they say, yes, this is the most successful high schools in Israel. And this is happened because of the work in Beit. And for me to say one more important things about it, when we start filming this documentary feature, and we start coming to the school in different hours, it's unbelievable. What I'm telling you is just the truth. Jalal right now speaking out from the school. He's over there now, but it's not by mistake. He and his partners, teachers are giving everything for the students. They know each one, not just by name. They know the family problems. They know each one, all the tests, which one he succeed and which not. And they just give themselves, this is their life. From 7 o'clock in the morning until midnight, they are over there working for the student. And as you saw in the film, Jalal wake up even as the manager, go from home to home, wake up students that have some problem, pick him up and bring him to school. And this is touching, and this is amazing. And this is why this is not a strong village. If you look at they are not wealthy, they are not rich. Most of the people are not, but they are now much more success than any other city or settlement in Israel.
Thank you. I want to ask a question about the nation state law, which Yitzi mentioned earlier, a basic law. So as many of you know, Israel does not have an actual constitution. Its laws are governed by a set of basic laws. And so passing a basic law is like a constitutional amendment in this country. And in 2018, Israel passed a basic law, nation state law, which effectively demoted Arabic language and codified other forms of discrimination. And I wanted to know what the impact of the nation state law was on the village, on the students, on the teachers. We did see a relatively massive mobilization among Druze citizens against the nation state law, including a protest in Rabin Square and other forms of opposition to it. And I wondered what the relationship of the village was to the law itself and to that opposition movement from within Druze communities and Druze society in Israel, which I should say, as many of you know, is about 1.5% of Israeli citizenry. It's about 143,000 Druze, plus minus, more or less. So Abdallah, if you want to go ahead and translate, and then we can hear from the speakers. Oh.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Abdallah, is that you saying, can you hear me?
Yes, I couldn't hear. There was, the voice is very static. It's cutting off.
I was asking about the relationship of the village to the nation state law, Chok HaLeom, and to the opposition from within Druze society to the nation state law.
Did you hear me well? Yes, I heard this one. Thank you. Thank you for repeating it. عم تسألك شو علاقة يعني الضيعة اللي أنت قانون تبع الدولة الإسرائيلية، يعني شو علاقتكم بهذا الموضوع؟ شو ردة فعلكم تجاه هذا الأمر؟
ما سمعتكش في الأول قطش الصوت وإذا ممكن تعيد.
نعم أكيد. Yes, he's asking me to repeat the question. Sorry, he couldn't hear me. نعم جلال، عم تسألك عن يعني العلاقة الضيعة اللي أنت منها مطرح ما موجود بالقانون الخلق يوم، هذا القانون الدولة الإسرائيلية، قانون الدولي. يعني شو ردة فعلكم؟ شو علاقة؟ أيوة نعم.
أوكي. الإحساس تبعنا إحنا اليوم كأقلية في دولة إسرائيل إنه في بعض القوانين اللي أتت من الخارج وكانت قبل 80 أو 90 سنة أو 70 سنة كانت ضد الشعب اليهودي، واليوم تطبق في قسم منها، يطبق ضد الأقليات اللي موجودة في دولة إسرائيل. مش مهم إذا أنت خدمت في الجيش ما خدمتش في الجيش، هذا بعطكش الحصانة إنك أنت القانون هذا ما يسريش عليك. منا قصة المسكن، الحق في المسكن. اليوم إذا أي واحد من الدروز اللي خدم بالجيش 3 سنين بده يعمر بيته، بيجوا مخالفات في 100,000 شواقل بيهدموا له بيته، وممكن كمان يروح على السجن. ممكن في عنا في بيت جان ضباط اللي خدموا بالجيش عمروا المسكن تبعهم، هدوا لهم اياه واخذوهم على السجن. القانون القومية يعني انا بعطينيش الحق كمواطن في مساوي للمواطن اليهودي. اذا انا مش يهودي معناته انا ممكن في درجة باء او جيم او دال او هاء، طبعا تصنيف موجود. وللاسف الشديد هذا قانون عنصري جدا، والحقوه بقانون اخر يسمى قانون كامينيتس، اللي انت بتدفع على اذا بتعمر دار بدون رخصه، مشان تاخذ رخصه بدك كذا الاف شواقل وكذا سنين اذا اعطوك رخصه. يعني غالبيه الشباب اليوم عندنا في المجتمع تبعنا هن مخالفين للقانون. اي قانون اللي اوجدوه تطلع هيك بتطلع على كل جماعتنا مخالفين للقانون، قانون غير منصف معهم، منصف لناس معينين ولباقي الناس غير منصف.
Okay. So we as a minority, there are like laws, discriminatory laws against us imposed from the outside. It used to be imposed on the Jews before, but part of it is now used against the minorities. Is used against the minorities. So there's no right sometimes if we build homes, for example, the IDF comes and demolish these homes. So regardless if the Druze have served in the IDF or didn't serve in the IDF, that doesn't give them immunity against this law. And there is there's always categorization, discrimination against us as Druze. And there's another law called the Kamenetz as well, which is not less discriminatory than the national law that's been imposed. And all the Druze youth now are trespassers of this law, and it's very unjust for us.
Thanks for explaining all of that. Those of you who know me or are part of our NIF Film Club that partners with Other Israel year-round since COVID started know that I could keep asking questions and talking to filmmakers and subjects of films forever. But I'm going to step back because I see that there are lots of questions coming in on the chat. And I know that there's a lot of people among this group who want to ask these brilliant guys some questions as well. So I'm gonna step back now. I thank you. It's really been an honor to be in conversation with you. And I'll hand it back to Yitzi and Yara to take some questions from all of you.
سأقوم بالتراجع الآن وأسمح ليارا بأن تقوم بأخذ الأسئلة، وشكرا جزيلا لوجودكم معنا. هناك العديد من الأشخاص الذين يريدونك يسألونك أنت والشخص الآخر، أنتم باثنيناتكم رائعين. هناك الكثير من الأشخاص بدهم يسألوكم بعض الأسئلة.
Thank you, Libby. And now we're going to take some questions from you. So our first question is from our friend Francoise Simon. Francoise, we're unmuting you.
Okay. Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm very happy to be amongst you and watching this wonderful film that packs a real big punch. I mean, it's a film with a very big heart, and that sheds a light on something we know very, very little about. I was interested in the post, the afterlife. Once they graduate and they're very happy, is there any data on what happens to these young men and women in their careers? Do they pursue their dreams? Are they successful? Or does it sort of dissipate and it's not, you're not there anymore, Jalal, to, you know, carry them and push them? How does it work out?
فاذا انت سيد جلال هلا بغيابك يعني ما في حدا يعني انت عم يهتم فيهم للتلامذه للطلاب الموجودين في الثانويه، كيف عم تتعاملوا مع هذا الامر؟ يعني جميع الصعوبات اللي عم يواجهوها هؤلاء الطلاب في ظل غيابك.
عندنا المعلمين، جميع المعلمين في المدرسة عندهم ناس رائعين، اللي حتى إذا أنا ما كنتش، المعلمين بيقوموا في الدور تبعهم كيف لازم. المعلمين بيطلعوا على التعليم كرسالة وليس كمهنة. لذلك احنا يعني ورانا الجيل الجاي ورانا هو راح يخطر الرسالة هاي ويمرقها على أحسن وجه.
Even if I'm not there, there are teachers. There is the entire team who takes care of the students there, and the teachers are not doing that only as a profession, but as a passion that they pass along to the kids. It's a message that they pass along, and it's for the posterity, the generation to come also will continue passing this message. Is the torch that will be passed along to the next generations.
كمان شغله فينا الخريجين، عندنا بعض الخريجين من الشباب اللي موجودين في الفيلم. في واحد من الخريجين اللي كان من المتفوقين في الكليه اللي كان فيها في هندسه الالكترونيات والحاسوب. اليوم بيشتغل كمدير في شركة انتل العالمية. في عنا خريجين اثنين اللي هن اليوم مهندسي ماء في شركة المياه الإسرائيلية. في عنا 3 خريجات اللي هن في عاملات اجتماعيات. وفي الكثير براكتيكال انجينير يعني الهندسي. وفي قسم اللي لسه عم تعلم، خلص الخدمة الإجبارية في الجيش ولسه بدي يتعلم. هذا بس لحظة إذا ممكن، هذا الإشي اللي هن بدهم إياه، يعني منشان يعيشوا كيف لازم في إسرائيل، تحقيق أحلامهم هو في تعليمهم وفي شهاداتهم بعد الدراسة الثانوية. وهذا اللي بسموه هيك احنا بفحصونا هل احنا ادينا الرساله الصح ولا لا، هي في كميه ونجاح هؤلاء الخريجين من المدرسه.
Yes, as well as I would like to add that there are some graduates from high school who are on the honors list. Usually one of them is now running a company, IT company. He graduated from the IT department. And there is another water engineer. He does water engineering in the Israeli water company. And 3 other girl graduates who are became social workers, and we have another engineer as well, and they're achieving their dreams after finishing high school, and they're doing what they want eventually at the end of the way.
Fabulous.
Let me jump in here and ask Ronen a question. Ronen, are you in touch with any of the students from the film? Have you followed them in their life after the film?
Yes, I'm in touch with some of them. Actually, the guys go to the army and just now starting the real life. I just want to add to the question Françoise asked. Maybe Jalal also can help me with it. But actually, most of the Druze people will born and die in their village. At the most, they will go to another village. People leave the village for a couple of years, for study in Israel or abroad, but they just go back. They build their home next to their parents, and they bring back everything that they know back to the community. Sometimes it can make a kind of problem if you want to do things that you can't do in the areas that you live in, and you have to move to Tel Aviv or Jerusalem. It can be a problem, but many times you can solve it and bring yourself as an educated man back to the village, and it's make a great change. We are, of course, we are in touch with the people, and I like to add that this school, we didn't deal with it in the film, but actually he take care of other need of the families. I'm meaning sometimes it's food, sometimes it's furniture, sometimes it's other stuff. If one of the young girls named Lina that sing in the movie love to be a singer and learn arts, I know that Jalal himself tried to help her. It's not easy, but he tried to help her to make her dream come true.
Thank you. Our next question is from Cheryl. Cheryl, we're opening you up.
Yes, hi, thank you. He almost answered it with this comment just now, but I was wondering if the majority of the Druze want to participate in the greater Israeli society, or do they really prefer to stay separated, like a minority within another country?
جلال، يعني هل بتعتقد انه الدروز بدهم يشاركوا ويكونوا جزء من المجتمع الاسرائيلي بشكل عام بشكل كامل يعني، ولا بتعتقد انه تفضلون كدروز ان تظلوا طائفة منعزلة عن باقي المجتمع الاسرائيلي؟
نحن إسرائيليين كمواطنين إسرائيليين طبعا احنا بنفضل انه نحافظ على الاشياء الخصوصية تبعنا، بس احنا من إسرائيليين وبنحب ننخرط في المجتمع الإسرائيلي في كل الاشياء مع المحافظة على خصوصياتنا. طبعا احنا دروز من ناحية من ناحية الدين، بس احنا عرب من ناحية قومية. طبعا مواطني دولة إسرائيل، احنا موجودين في دولة وبنحب نكون مشاركين في كل الاشياء بالدولة.
We are Israeli citizens first of all, but we would like to preserve our idiosyncrasies. We like to preserve our character, even though we would like to be part of the greater Israeli society. We have Arabic nationality inside of us, but in the same time we want to be a part of the Israeli community.
Thank you. We have a question from Lee. Lee, you're on.
Hello. I understand that a large percentage of the Druze, of the graduates, did go to the IDF, to the army. Has that changed recently? And if they do go to the army, does a percentage of them not return to the village? And if they don't return, what do they do? In particular, where do they live?
فإذا عم تقول لك بأنه هي تعرف بأنه جزء كبير من الدروز يخدمون في الجيش الإسرائيلي، وعندما يخدمون يعني هل بيرجعوا على المجتمع الإسرائيلي مجددا، أم أنهم إذا ما رجعوا شو بيعملوا بهالحالة؟ إذا ما رجعوا من الخدمة العسكرية شو بيكون وظائفهم بعدين؟
أولا الدروز يخدمون في الجيش طبقا لقانون التجنيد الإجباري من سنة 1956. اللي بيكون بالجيش وبيخدم بالجيش في قسم بيكون بيستمر في الخدمة بالجيش، عندما ينهي الخدمة تبعه يرجع إلى القرية، وأحيانا لا يحصل على وظيفة ولا يجد له وظيفة لكي يعتاش منها. بس القسم الأكبر من اللي بيخلصوا من الجيش بيرجعوا على القرية عندنا.
So the biggest part who serve in the Israeli army, they come back to their village, to our village where we are. And all of the Druze youth have to serve in the Israeli army because of the law of the 1956, which is the mandatory military service. And all of them, have to go to the army.
Thank you. We have time for one last question. We're going to take a question from Christine. Christine, you're on.
Hi, thank you so much. Yeah, my question was about the relationship between the students and families of the Druze community in the documentary with Druze communities in neighboring countries like Lebanon and Syria. Are there a lot of connections between the community in Israel and the communities outside of Israel? And like, what is the nature of those connections? And do the graduates of the schools sometimes, like what percentage end up moving abroad or studying abroad after graduation?
هل هناك تواصل بين المجتمع الدرزي الموجود في إسرائيل مع باقي الدروز الموجودين في لبنان والموجودين في سوريا؟ وما هي النسبة من الدروز الذين يخدمون في الجيش؟ يعني الدروز الموجودين قد ايه النسبة اللي بس يخلصوا الثانوية العامة يتجهون للتعلم ولإنهاء دراستهم في الخارج؟
طبعا في تواصل بيننا وبين الدروز في سوريا ولبنان. وفي هون لازم أنا بدي أنوه لشغلة معينة، إنه كل الطوائف الأخرى مثلا الإسلام أو المسيحيين في عندهم إمكانية زيارة الأماكن المقدسة. في العربية السعودية في مكة للمسلمين، في لبنان في المواطنين الإسرائيليين المسيحيين في عندهم إمكانية يزوروا الأماكن المقدسة في لبنان. الطائفة الوحيدة اللي ممنوعة من زيارة الآخرين وأقاربهم، في عنا أنا في لي ولاد عم بسوريا، الطائفة الدرزية في إسرائيل في منعا باتا إنه ممنوع تزور أقاربك ومجتمعك الدرزي أو الأماكن المقدسة للدروز في سوريا وفي لبنان. وهذا يميزنا بشكل عنصري حسب رأيي أنا. بدونش إنه إحنا نتواصل مع جماعتنا. بشكل اذا بدنا نطلع احنا على الشيء هذا، كل في ناس من عندنا طلعوا على سوريا وعلى لبنان، وفي ناس انحبسوا فاتوا على السجن لانه تواصلوا مع اقاربهم. في ناس في ال48 بعد قيام دولة اسرائيل في عائلات انفصلت عن اقاربها، في اخوه واخوات واباء وابناء وامهات. التواصل كان مشان نقرب بين هذول الناس يشوفوا بعضهم. يعني في عنا قصص اللي هي جدا مأساوية. عندنا في بيت جان واحد اللي دشرت ابن عمره 7 أشهر في سوريا وطلعت زارته. على هاي الأشياء، على هاي الشغلات كانوا يحاكموا الناس اللي بتساعد هذول البني يشوفوا أقاربهم في سوريا وفي لبنان.
Yes, there is a communication between the Druze who are in Israel and who are in Syria and Lebanon. But I need to point out to the fact that the Muslims have Mecca to go to. It's their sacred place. They go in pilgrimage, and the Christians can go to the sacred sites in Lebanon to visit. However, for the Druze, they're not allowed to go to their sacred sites. In Syria and Lebanon, they're not allowed. And there is a lot of separation between the families. If they go, they're not allowed to go to Syria and Lebanon. And one of the mothers sent her 7-month-old son to Syria, but now she's not allowed to see him. And we see this as unfair.
I want to give a big thank you to Jalal and Ronen for such a beautiful film. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Libby, thank you for leading this amazing conversation. Thank you once again to Mandy Patinkin and to Joy for joining us tonight. But it's not over yet. We're going to take 5 minutes now to join out in breakout sessions for those of you who would like to. Get to know your neighbor and talk a little bit about the film. What we're going to do is we're going to let you join into small groups of 5. Don't speak for over 1 minute because you're only going to be there for 5 minutes. And introduce yourself. And just tell people where you're from. and share one thing that impacted you about this film. And then we'll join back here to say goodnight. So we'll send you now into your breakout sessions for 5 minutes. Thank you all for joining, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow and at other events. Thank you very much. We'll see you back here in 5 minutes.
Hello, Eva.
Hi.
All right.
Nice to see you.
I think our folks have come back. So thank you all. Hope you got to know your neighbors or people who live on the other side of the country a little bit. Thank you so much for doing that. Thank you so much for joining tonight and for being a part of this conversation. We have an exciting week of many more conversations. I also promise all the conversations will be in English. And all the films are subtitled. Don't miss, I see Tippy Tropas here, who is the director of tomorrow night's film. So don't miss tomorrow night, My Dearest Enemy, which we'll be having a conversation at 6 p.m. tomorrow. Join us at 3 p.m. for Crossings, and get ready to cook with Ghazala at 5 p.m. And most importantly, everyone, please stay safe, wear your mask, and we hope to see you sometime soon in person. Look forward to seeing you more this week and making you a part of the conversation. Thank you so much, and have a good night.